Cool. And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pastrami Nation podcast, the thing where we talk about all things pop culture. I'm your host, Kevin, entertainment editor for Pastrami Nation. And with me today, we have Christian, the toy godfather of toys, I think is what we came up with.
We're still going with
We're
we'll
still
figure it
going
out.
with
We'll
it,
figure it out.
We'll figure something out. We'll figure something out. So, yeah, man, it's exciting. Listen, if it sounds different, guys, to all you guys watching, listening, we're in our new place, in a new room, getting it all fixed up. So, apologize if it doesn't sound as good as usual, but gonna have the same good material. And today, we're gonna be talking about one of my favorite filmmakers, one of the most, Christian. This guy's amazing, right? Like he has a spectacular career. He has a new movie out this weekend, which a lot of you guys are probably seeing right now. That's why it's only me and Christian here right now because, well, everyone's out going to watch this movie. And but who knows? Maybe in a different universe, you're watching us instead of watching the movie with your friends. So
somewhere in the multiverse.
Somewhere in the multiverse. And of course, we're talking about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and director Sam Raimi, who's triumphant. Well, I can't say triumphant yet because I have not seen the movie, but I would assume I've been hearing good things. I've been hearing a lot of great things. His return to the comic book realm of movies, which the last time he did that, as we know, was Spider-Man 3, which is crazy. Like it's taken him that long to come back to comic book movies.
Right.
Yeah, it's insane. So we're just going to talk a little bit about him and what we love about him and talk about his career a little bit. And he's done some incredible stuff. And I kind of did some kind of reminiscing about like when my first kind of, when I became aware of who Sam Raimi was. I know everyone has these stories, especially of a certain generation. They saw Evil Dead back when it released in like, the 80s, 81, I believe it released. I was 1 year old when that movie came out, so I wasn't aware of it. But I think the first time I remember watching a Sam Raimi movie was Darkman.
Yes.
Darkman was the first movie I watched of his, and I remember distinctly thinking like, this movie's like, it's good. It's different. It's not like anything I've ever seen before. Like it had this quirky comedy. It had this really bizarre, like just the way he shot everything. And he's really, he has that very unique and stylized way of filming things, right? With the quick kind of close-ups and things like that. And I think that's when I really kind of became aware of who Sam Raimi was. What about you? Do you remember the first movie that you saw?
It's
of
the
Sam
same.
Raimi's?
Same for me. It was Darkman. When I was younger for a while, we had like a library of cassette tapes. My mom would go to Blockbuster. She would rent 3 movies. Regardless if we would watch them or not, she would just record them to like blank tapes. So I would just go through them, and like Darkman was one of those movies that I just found. And I would watch repeatedly. Like I have so many like distinct memories of that movie. That little like bird thing that would like press the keyboard, the explosion thing. Like there was just a lot, and like that was also I think my first movie that I remember Liam Neeson, in too. So
same. I think it was my first exposure to Liam Neeson as well. Like I had no idea who he was before that, and I don't think a lot of people did. I think he was known, but not as known as he is today.
Right.
Which is crazy. Yeah, Darkman was the first one. And then I distinctly remember being at the video store and seeing the VHS of Army of Darkness. And I was like, I have no idea what this is. Like my parents, they take us every Friday night to go rent a movie or whatever. And I was like, I don't know what this is, like, but it sounds cool. Like it sounds like pretty amazing, right? I was like, this guy travels back in time, he has a chainsaw for a hand and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, like this is insane. So I remember watching that and then not realizing till later, like, oh wait, like this is this is a sequel. Like this is a sequel to something. And of course, this was in the 90s. This is before the internet, all these things. So I just wasn't exposed to movies like Evil Dead and stuff growing up. And it was, when you see that, at the beginning of Army of Darkness, when his car comes crashing down and he's in the medieval times.
Yeah.
And then, but I think that was the movie where I was like, oh, this is like Sam Raimi. Like the Sam Raimi guy's kind of onto something. Like he's pretty good. He's got that quirky kind of, it reminded me, of course, he's very much into the slapstick, Three Stooges type of filmmaking. And that movie really exemplifies it, right?
Yes,
he's like fighting with his two heads, and he's fighting each other and poking each other's eye out. God, it's fantastic. And then you find out there's more, right? And that's always super exciting when you walk into something brand new and you end up loving it and you realize there's more of these things out there. And then, I went back to, I wasn't right after that, but it was fairly soon after that, probably when I was 16, 17, when I started to discover Evil Dead. I was like, this movie is insane. Evil Dead 2, I think, Evil Dead 2 is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Right.
Because it really exemplified everything Sam Raimi's about and did everything Evil Dead did, but better. Obviously, more money, bigger budget, things like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I became kind of obsessed. Like I was like, I had no idea who it was. And then again, that was like late 90s. So the internet was starting to come around again. And I could be like, oh, I can look this guy up. I can kind of find out more about him, figure out who he is, what other movies he's done. And the dude has a strong career. Like, he started out, I mean, I'm sure you know the stories, right? But the Evil Dead, he was shopping this trailer around forever. Like, this is the movie I want to make. And he eventually got it made, super low budget, super, like just a bunch of friends living in a cabin. They basically lived there while they were filming. Like that's the Hollywood way, right? I mean, that's the Hollywood dream, hang out with your friends. It's like Kevin Smith, right? Kevin Smith always says you want to work with your friends, like
exactly,
hang out with your friends. And that really like stuck with me as far as his work dedication and the type of movies he was putting out. Like this guy, he knows what he wants and he goes out and he gets it and he does it and he doesn't let anything stop, get in his way. And I think that was one of my first like exposures to that, being like, I want to be a filmmaker. I want to do that, go out there, film a movie, film something with my friends, hang out with people that I like. And then his career just kind of shot off from there. Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2 was more goofy, a little bit more funny, slapstick, It had that really, really great, when he chops off his hand and, Idle Hands did a really good kind of impression of that, scene where he cuts off his hand and he, the hand's running around, like was a thing from, Addams Family. And like going crazy. And I love the quirkiness of it and all that stuff. So what are your memories of Evil Dead? Do you remember when you first realized who Sam Raimi was?
Same thing. It's crazy how similar it was. Army of Darkness I saw that before I saw Evil Dead or any of the other ones.
Same.
I was born in 82, so I wasn't even around for the first one. So, but man, Army of Darkness, I was just like, what? It was the most ridiculous thing, and I was like,
wasn't it?
I wasn't allowed to watch horror movies as a kid. I was way too imaginative, so like I would freak myself out and get in my own head. So my dad was like, "You're cut off. You can't handle this." So like I wasn't used to watching horror movies, and I was like, I remember watching it. It was the same thing. I discovered the cassette. I popped it on, and I'm like, oh my god, it's scary. But then I was like, why am I laughing? Like, what is this? And it was so ridiculous, and like it was so different from anything that I had seen. And he already, like, from the first movie, going back, like he had such a concise, distinctive way of like visual storytelling. The way that Sam Raimi did, he had a way of just putting on screen exactly what he wanted to show you what needed to be seen for the story, and I love it. I mean, I think it works so well, and like it's really cool to see that even in like a huge blockbuster like Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2,
Right.
to really see that. So I didn't realize, because I was just looking at the list right now, The Gift. My God, I did not realize that was him. Yes, I love that movie.
The Gift is one of those movies that I knew it was Sam Raimi. At this point, I was kind of really nerding out about him. So when that movie was coming out, I remember being really excited.
Yeah,
that was also that was still kind of the phase where people weren't sure if they liked Keanu or not, right? So they were like,
yes,
like this guy. That's when he started taking on these more darker, The Gift. And I don't know if you remember The Watcher. He did this movie where he played a serial killer, and I believe it was him, and I can't remember who it was, but he was kind of like a Night Stalker type person. And cool. It was actually decent, but again, it was kind of like, hey, can he act, kind of thing. But The Gift, I thought he did freaking he played the I don't know if sorry, spoilers if you all haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
This movie came out late 90s. Exactly. But he played a freaking terrifying villain in that. Like him and with Katie Holmes' character and things like that. Like he was the kind of the abusive, boyfriend or husband. I can't remember. But yeah, Sam Raimi, he was fantastic.
Such a good movie. I used to because exactly. It was the like people were like not on the fence yet with Keanu, and I would tell people, I'm like, if you make fun of his acting, watch The Gift, because man, he handles it well. Like he was awesome in that. But that was just such a great cast with like Cate Blanchett, Greg Kinnear, Giovanni Ribisi, who was like one of my favorite actors in the 90s. Like, love that guy. And his role at like, if I see a blue diamond, will I die? Like, it just stuck with me, man. Like, it was such a good movie. The performances he got out of everybody. I think that was my first time with Cate Blanchett too, like, or at least realizing who she was. So yeah, that was a fantastic movie. Sam Raimi is an incredible filmmaker. So I'm so excited to see what he does with this. I saw an interview recently, and he was talking about him coming back to the Marvel Universe. And Kevin Feige was an assistant like on the Spider-Man movies back in the day.
Yeah, the producer,
Yeah, so he was like, dude, I'm so happy I was nice to him back then, which is so funny. But yeah, he said, if he got to look at the script, and he was like, look, if I'm starting this, tomorrow I need two storyboard artists, I need concept artists, I need animators, like 2 animators, and then Kevin's like, I'm gonna give you 10 animators, you're gonna get 20 storyboard artists. He was like, and then he was like, oh, I forgot, like, you know how to do this now. You guys are like the superhero machine now. He's like, this is amazing. So it's kind of cool to see. I'm so excited to see what he's gonna do with just like no hold barred, like no limitations to his visual thing. So really excited. I don't know. I even like I think the one movie that he did that everybody poo-poos on is Spider-Man 3, obviously, right? And I don't think anybody blames him for that necessarily, right? I think studio interference, whatever. Sony's like relentless desire to make the Sinister Six movie happen till this day. And thank God Nolan's not here, because he would be like, oh, the greatest movie, Morbius. But like, even as ridiculous as that movie was, and like, I think, the emo Peter, right? Or Billy Maguire that everybody says, like, I still remember that scene where he starts dancing and he's like, oh, make it jazz. Yeah. And it's like, I'm like, sitting in the theater, I'm like, oh my God. But as soon as that scene hits and Mary Jane's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I get pulled right back into the story. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, Peter, what are you doing? You jerk. Like, he's still like just amazing.
Yeah.
It's so effective.
Absolutely. And I part 3 still has its charm to it, right? Yes. Like, I watched it again recently and I'm like, it's not that bad. Yeah. Like, it's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with it per se. I mean, well, there's things wrong with it, but there's nothing horrible about it that makes it like an awful movie. It just doesn't flow right. And you can totally tell the studio was like, let's ram Venom in there. Let's do all these things. Yeah, and like his Spider-Man movies, I don't think anything knew what to expect because, again, this is, back in the early 2000s, comic book movies were just kind of like X-Men had hit, I mean, there was other things like Blade had done really well. X-Men X2, I think, had come out by then, possibly by the time the first Spider-Man come out.
Right.
So people were kind of like, but that was also kind of one of my thoughts, right? It was like, all right, so the guy who did Evil Dead is going to be making a Spider-Man movie. I mean, it could be the best thing in the world, or but I had that kind of his sensibilities are like my sensibilities, so I was excited for it a little. I was like, dude, this could be cool. Like, Reddit wasn't a thing back then, so the Twitter wasn't really a thing, so you couldn't really. But there were these forums back in the day, where you can go and it'd be just like Twitter or Reddit, or people were just like tearing it apart before it even had a chance to see the light of day. But what he did with those movies, like legitimatized comic book movies, right?
Yes,
like legitimatized Spider-Man. He put his stamp on it. He put his style on it, but he was a comic book fan, right? So he knew who these characters were. Like, and one thing I love about his trilogy, Spider-Man trilogy, is it's very, again, upon rewatch, it was very Shakespearean. Like, it had this classic Shakespearean kind of like, with the best friends, and then there's it's the classic story, right? But it reminded me of even the way they talk in that movie. And obviously it's not old fashioned English, it's not old English or anything, but it even had the same kind of flow as Shakespeare in a weird way, like the way the characters interacted, the way the characters interacted with each other. I thought that was, and that's what struck me the most upon this rewatch, is just how much of a classic feel it had. Like, I feel like his Spider-Man movies are going to be, I'm going to get a lot of stuff for saying this, but I think they're going to stand the test of time as opposed to the ones that we have now. I love, obviously, No Way Home, incredible, right? Like, all those are great. But his Spider-Man movies are going to stand the test of time. And I believe the same thing with the X-Men movies. Like, the first two, at least, I think part two especially is going to, live on past this MCU stuff. You know what I mean? And I think the MCU is great, and I'm super excited to go watch Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And I love Sam Raimi, but there's going to come a point where, who knows? I mean, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but in 20 years, they're going to reboot it again, right? They're going to have a new Tony Stark. They're going to have a new Captain America. It's all going to start over again. And I think these ones will just kind of be there. You know what I mean?
It'll be kind of like a generation defining, like Chris Evans was my Captain America. You know what I mean?
It will be
kind of that thing. But I do agree. I think a lot of people like to credit the X-Men movies with ushering in like the modern era of superhero. I like to give that credit to Spider-Man. Like, I think X-Men was just a little too early. It was a kind of a weird thing with Bryan Singer, but I think Raimi just unapologetically put the Spider-Man that we knew on screen with his little twist on it. So no hiding behind black leather or watering down their stories. It's exactly like the stories that we loved so much. And putting on screen. And I agree, the way that he approached everything is really timeless. I still think Spider-Man 2 stands as in my personal top 5 superhero movies.
It's my top 5 superhero movies and just movies of all time. I feel like it just is such an amazing experience, and I don't, it's an incredible movie, but I feel like when you're watching it, there's so many emotions going on and so much happening that it feels like an experience. It feels like a roller coaster, but also a roller coaster that has depth and isn't just shallow, kind of on the surface roller coaster. And like you said, it's timeless. Bless you. No problem. I mean, it's crazy, and just the the amount of work that he's done in different genres too. Like, you know, obviously we talked about Spider-Man and we talked about his horror stuff in Evil Dead and, you know, Army of Darkness. And even we talked about The Gift. I really like Drag Me to Hell. I know a lot of people I thought Drag Me to Hell was a lot of fun. Like it really brought back that kind of classic Raimi kind of silly fun, dancing demons and like all kinds of stuff. I loved it. But you know, he's also done, you know, I was looking back at his filmography and I'm like, The Quick and the Dead. The Quick and the Dead, Sharon Stone, Gene Hackman, Leonardo DiCaprio. It's a Western, like completely different. But even that movie has its, you know, Sam Raimi stuff. You know, it's very stylized, you know. I just always remember one scene of that movie that I saw when I was a teenager. The guy got shot through the eye and you see the camera kind of go through it.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, dude, like this is
gnarly.
This is great. This is great. And then he does A Simple Plan. Billy Bob Thornton and Bill Paxton, which was a freaking really good, like Coen Brothers-esque kind of thriller. That was such an incredible movie. And I just found out, or I just realized, he had worked with the Coen brothers early on in his career. So he actually helped them raise the money to make a trailer for Blood Simple so they can go out and make Blood Simple. So they kind of used his Evil Dead model. And they worked together. You know, Hudsucker Proxy was co-written by Sam Raimi. So they kind of switched with like A Simple Plan in the 90s. That was kind of Sam Raimi's homage to the Coen brothers, you know, and their style of filmmaking and stuff. And even though they didn't have anything to do with it, they were friends. And I was reading while he was making it, they were giving him hints on how to film in the snow because they had just made Fargo. Right. And they were like, you know, go out there, film this, do all that. But anyways, he does these, you know, tight thrillers. And then he does something like For Love of the Game. Kevin Costner, romantic comedy, baseball, like things that I was just like, this is cool. I watched it. I think I was working at the theater when it came out, and I watched it, you know, because I like Sam Raimi, and decidedly the most un-Sam Raimi movie I'd ever seen in my life. But yeah, and then he goes on to do freaking, you know, The Gift, and then Spider-Man, you know, the 3 Spider-Man movies. And then between that, it does Drag Me to Hell, and then Oz, the Great and Powerful. Which, what do you think about that?
I saw it in theaters, and I enjoyed it at the time. I really, really liked it. It was fun. You know, I think it was, James Franco was a fun person to watch. I think he's still entertaining to watch. Absolutely. Problematic as he might be, but it's still, you know, it was fun. I remember there's a lot of like cool, like little homages to the original, and that was a lot of fun. I did not. I'm just looking at his list, and I'm like, there's so many things I just didn't realize.
Dude, yeah,
like For the Love of the Game, I did not realize.
Yeah, For the Love of the Game, Kevin Costner, and I wonder, that wasn't Renee Russo. I can't remember who the girl was in that. But yeah, Oz the Great and Powerful was really good, and we were talking about this the other day. That was the last movie he directed. Yeah. You know, before this. Like that was what, 10 years ago? I want to say.
It's about 9 years ago, yeah.
About 9 years ago.
Crazy.
But I mean, you know, he's done a lot of producing stuff too, right? Mm-hmm. So he's done like The Grudge and the Evil Dead reboot, remake. Right. You know, and the series, Ash versus Evil Dead. And I don't know where you were in the 90s, but I remember watching Hercules and Xena. Yeah. You know, which he had a big hand in, and I thought those were always a lot of fun. And that's another one, you know, Kevin Sorbo. There's another one that's a little bit problematic today. But, you know, Lucy Lawless is incredible. And it was so great seeing her show up in Ash versus Evil Dead. Yeah. Like she is incredible.
Oh, that's so cool. And she has her cameos in the Spider-Man movies too.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
She's amazing.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see this movie right now. So tracking. I guess they're tracking this movie to pull in anywhere between 160 and possibly like 220 on the higher end.
It's going to,
which will put this possibly at like the 5th highest grossing movie of all time, which is insanity. I think the last movie in May to release to those numbers was the first Avengers movie.
So, really?
Which is yesterday. Today is the 10-year anniversary for the first Avengers movie. So that's
so crazy.
So crazy. So crazy. I can't believe it's already been 10 years.
And yeah, it's insane.
So I don't know. I'm just so glad that they're able to get like Raimi of all people to kind of to bring this to life. So it was just I just remember when they first announced Raimi was going to be directing this, it was just kind of giddy with excitement. Yeah. It's like perfect.
Same. So I think what's confusing to me a little bit is so we had Scott Derrickson, obviously was. He directed the first Doctor Strange and not Insidious, Sinister, and all these other movies. And the idea was he was going to do like a horror, like this was going to be like horror, right? Like he wanted to do a straight up horror comic book movie, which I think would have been amazing, especially for this story and everything. He got creative differences, like they always say. He got let go, and Sam Raimi comes on, and now I'm hearing that it's very horror tinged, like it's got a lot of horror elements into it. I am curious as to the differences between what Derrickson was going to do and what Raimi did. I can imagine Raimi might be a little bit more light-handed with it, right? Not as heavy-handed. And I love Scott Derrickson. His new movie, was it The Black Phone with Ethan Hawke? Looks freaking incredible.
Oh, I've heard. I haven't seen the trailers yet.
Dude, it looks insane. Based on a short story by Joe Hill, who's Stephen King's son. But it looks freaking crazy. Anyways, I listen. I branch. I'm sorry. But I am curious what Derrickson's original vision was for this movie. And I do think Sam Raimi came in and kind of probably looked at the script and was like, I can do that. Let's do that. Put his little trutches on it.
So I think when the movie initially hit Rotten Tomatoes, it was like at an 86. It's currently at 78 right now, which is nothing to scoff at. I think everybody was hoping or expecting it to do a little bit better. But I think that might have something to do with it. Like the fact that people weren't expecting, like such a horror direction with a Marvel movie. What I'm also hearing is that this requires the most you need to be invested. Like this really rewards you if you are up to date with all the MCU stuff.
It's really hurt, especially with something like WandaVision, right? I heard like this ties. Obviously, we kind of had the idea that was going to happen, but that this ties directly into WandaVision. So if you haven't watched, so quick tangent here. I have a couple friends who have kind of fallen off the MCU just because like there's so much, right? Like you have to watch the TV shows in order to understand a lot of these movies. Like, there's a new Captain America coming out, right? Like there's going to be a Captain America 4. It's already been announced. We know who the new Captain America is, right? But you have to watch that show to understand how he got from point A to point B. What are your thoughts on that? Are you like, personally, I think it's pretty cool, right? I think it's the first time we've ever kind of had this really interconnected thing. But on the other hand, I'm still kind of like, that's a lot of stuff to watch just to enjoy a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I first of all, I'm 100% invested. This is
same.
what I like. I was raised on comic books, specifically Marvel stuff. My dad was a big nerd, so I'm in turn. Like this is this. Nice. If I could go back and tell myself, show myself, look at all these movies that are going to come out, in the 90s, I'd be like, no way. It was just almost unbelievable. But yeah, it's kind of amazing, and I think they've been doing this long enough where it is a big ask, but they're we put out so much, and if they have to treat every movie with like, oh, but we can't anticipate them to have watched previous movies, then that's kind of unfair to them too, because how like we're 27, 28 movies in now, so I get both ways, but like me as somebody who's watched everything, even like I wasn't crazy about What If, but like I watched all of it, so I'm happy to be there, because I feel like I'm kind of in the know now, like
right.
I'm like, and like you said, when have we gotten this before in the movies? Like when have we had a franchise this long lasting?
Exactly.
With this many movies, you can say Star Wars, but like 9 movies,
No, yeah, like this is it's unprecedented. Like
Right.
it is insane to me that like it's considered its own franchise. Like like the MCU is it's a franchise. Like that's just
it's
so
a genre, like even
insane. Like that's crazy. And like you have someone like, and I do again. Listen, another tangent, but DC needs to just. I'm not saying they have to do exactly what Marvel's doing, but they need someone at the helm saying, "Hey, this is what we need to do. This is our blueprint. This is our map.
Yeah.
Let's get here."
Yeah.
And I feel like they could be as successful, and I hate to say this, if not more so than the MCU, if they, actually got their stuff together and figured out what they're doing. Man, yeah, I had bets going on a while back when Captain America, Civil War, and Batman vs Superman were coming out on the same weekend, or like within weeks, and I had people saying like, "Hey, like Batman vs Superman, 2 biggest superheroes of all time. Of course, it's going to make more money. Like, dude, it's going to make billions." And I'm like, probably not. I'm like, it's Captain America, and like they were like, it's Captain America and all these C-list, heroes, because at the time they're still big, but I'm like, no, dude, like, but that's true, right? Like a movie featuring Batman and Superman going up against each other should be the biggest movie of all time.
Exactly.
Easily. But it wasn't, as we know. That turned out.
And I hate to be I want all the movies to be good, right? I always want to go to the movies. I want everybody to be successful. So when I say that I'm a Marvel guy, it's not because like I want DC to fail. I want awesome DC movies. I always want that. I think it really sucks what's going on. And then on top of it, with like the whole Ezra Miller thing going on, and like I'm like they're banking so hard on this Flashpoint movie to do well, and then Ezra's like punching women at a bar. I'm like, what are you doing, man? I'm like, God. So it's just like they just can't get things to work out for them, unfortunately. But
they can't.
I would say my least favorite movie in the DCEU was Batman v Superman. I think it was completely mishandled. It was a horrible idea to like their second movie out the gate, and you're going to pit them together, like. And it was a dumb reason for them to fight. Like I don't want to get into it, but like at least with Civil War, there was like a difference of ideologies, right? So like even to this day, people were like, "No, man, Team Iron Man." And like, what are you talking about, Team Iron Man? Team Cap? You could have this actual debate with people.
Absolutely.
Like, right. So I don't know. I do hope for the best with them. I hope they figure it out. Don't squander Henry Cavill, because that guy's perfect casting.
Dude, Cavill is the most perfectly cast Superman, and I mean since Christopher Reeve. Like, I mean, like he's incredible, and I hope he gets to continue with Superman in some shape, way, or form.
My thing is, if DC can't figure it out, hey, he's my Cyclops, man. I want him. Bring him into the MCU. I would love to have him as Cyclops. People say Captain Britain. I'm like, he deserves better, and I think Cyclops deserves better, because Cyclops is an awesome character.
James Marsden isn't doing a whole lot. I notice he loves, like, he's been in these movies. He was in Hop and the Sonic movies, which we watched, the second Sonic and Hop in the same weekend a couple weeks ago. He just likes working against, little creatures that aren't there. So let's get him back. I kind of liked him as Cyclops.
I did too. I think that worked.
Except for the third movie. Anyways, we're getting way off track. Our next podcast, we could talk about all this. I do that. Anyway, Sam Raimi.
Wait. Before we get back on track, are you finished with Moon Knight?
I am not. So the episode came out yesterday, and we were moving, so we're getting our internet here today or tomorrow. So
Okay.
tomorrow, I already told Eli, I'm like, dude, we're not. He's like, we can watch it on our phones. I'm like, no,
No. Yeah. Wait, just wait. Yeah.
We're not doing that. So we're just gonna wait. But yeah, I'm excited to see it. Episode 5, I thought I actually I liked how it got more into the psychological aspects of it. It is kind of weird. Like I'm not going to spoil it per se, but we've barely seen Moon Knight. Like
Yes.
we've barely seen him as a character, and I think it's a good thing. I also think it's a bad thing. Who knows? I'll watch the last episode and maybe be like, oh, it was worth it the whole time, or something. So
yeah.
we'll
I
see.
think we're kind of on the same page with Moon Knight. I felt like episode 5 was the strongest episode up until that
same.
point. I was like, okay, because there were things that I was just not feeling, and then I'm like, okay, this was cool. This was really cool. So yeah, well, we'll talk. I know Nolan wants to talk about it too because he was posting about it. So
absolutely.
Good, yeah.
One thing we did forget to talk about is the prize for today.
Ooh.
Y'all can win something from Christian's private collection here. This thing is really cool. We're talking about Sam Raimi. This Black Spider-Man, guys, this thing's really cool. All you have to do is leave a comment. Let us know, just talk to us. Let us know who's your favorite Spider-Man actor? Who's your favorite, of course it's Tobey Maguire, but but yes, you all can win that. We'll figure out if we're going to do it after the show or probably on Sunday. Maybe.
I mean, we could do this right now. You have a 50% chance of winning now. So we don't have our wheel right now, but I do have a deck of cards. So you can pick red or black, and then whatever I draw. We'll do that. But we'll do this at the end. So.
Absolutely. But yeah, man, I'm just as excited as you are about Doctor Strange. I'm very, very curious how it's going to play out. And, the MCU is getting bigger and bigger. So, there's been leaks and everything. I've been staying away from those. So let's just, I think it's going to be a fun time. And I know it was banned in was it Saudi Arabia or something like that?
Was it?
Yeah, for reasons, America Chavez and her being part of the LGBTQ community, and they're not okay with that over there. So
no, they're not. Well, okay, sorry, Saudi Arabia, you guys are missing out.
Yeah, exactly. And Disney was like, we're not going to cut that out.
No,
it's only like 20 seconds. They said, like, no worries. Yeah. But yeah, I'm stoked for it. I can't wait to see kind of where the MCU goes from here. I know we obviously have a list. Love and Thunder's up next.
Yes,
Thor: Love and Thunder, which looks like a lot of fun. And yeah, so let's just go back to Raimi real quick. So if you had to pick one Sam Raimi movie as your all-time favorite Sam Raimi movie, what would your favorite Sam Raimi movie be?
Ooh, are you asking me or are we asking the chat?
I'm asking you or the channel, anyone watching.
I gotta go with Spider-Man 2. I gotta go with
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, it's gotta be. For me, I can. There's no way I would just. If I just walked by a TV and that movie was on, I have to plop myself down. Like I have to finish this movie now.
Nice.
My girlfriend and I are such dorks about movie, and we like movies, and we like quote movies all the time, the most random things. And anytime, like if I pick up food and I come home, no matter what kind of food it is, it's like pizza time. Pizza time. I'll go get breakfast and I'll come back and I'll wake her up like pizza time.
Love it.
But yeah, it's Spider-Man 2 for me for sure.
Cool.
What about you?
Oh, it's a tough one. I have two, but I'm gonna pick one. Mine would have to be, as much as I love Spider-Man 2, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time, Evil Dead 2 barely wins it out. There's something just so much fun about that movie for me, and it was kind of not my first introductions to horror, but the character of Ash, in Army of Darkness was definitely one of those characters that I kind of just found to be super interesting and super funny because I was young when it came out, and I was like, this dude's awesome, Bruce Campbell. And I think Evil Dead 2 just really, man, it's still that kind of, it is really bloody and really gory and stuff like that. But I do feel like it's a little bit more extreme of a gateway horror movie for some people. It's a little bit more fun. We don't really, put a whole lot of stock into, sounds horrible, to what our kids watch per se, but like we show them horror, especially around Halloween time. That's one of the movies we can all watch together and kind of just laugh, and it's silly. And even my kids, like they have fun with it, but they know it's corny, but that's what I love about it. It has that charm to it. Sam Raimi written all over it. And it's like, if someone was to ask me what Sam Raimi was about, I would show them that movie. I'd be like, here, like, watch this movie. You get the whole feel of this guy, whether or not you're going to like him. If you don't like this movie, you're not going to like his movies. But if you love this movie, you're going to love everything else he makes. Even his big budget, Spider-Man 2. Like, there's so much evil. That's another thing about those movies, is that they are very horror tinged, especially the first one. The first one has that body horror element to it. Oh, no. No, the first one was more like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. The second one had the body horror elements to it. So with Doc Ock in that hospital scene.
Oh, so good. The best scene of the movie.
It's cool. Evil Dead. Like, it's got Evil Dead written all over it. And it's got that really
chainsaw.
the chainsaw. Like, it's terrifying too. I'm watching it. I'm like, wow, like this was in a Spider-Man movie. Yeah, like, that is insane.
So good.
Spider-Man 2, Arturo. That's a good choice, man. Yeah. Can't go wrong with Spider-Man 2. So let's go ahead and so we have Arturo picked red, and
Heather's got black. I've been shuffling right now. Here, I'm gonna do this. I'll do this on camera so you guys can see. So I won't do this, and I'm gonna reveal to the camera. We'll do one more cut. Black.
Oh, black.
There you go, Heather. Cool. So
congratulations.
I don't know who you guys are supposed to send your address to, but send it. I think I always get it from Nolan, so you guys can send it to him, or the Pastrami Nation thing. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, send it to Nolan. Send it to the Pastrami Nation page, cool. And we'll get it sent out to you. That's really cool. Congratulations.
It's a cool figure.
Yeah.
I think when it comes down to Raimi, man, there's only a handful of directors that have such a distinct visual style that you can just watch their movie without being told, and you're like, this is a Raimi movie. You know what I mean? And like he's definitely one of them. Kind of uncompromised, and only like just got sharper as he's gotten older,
Absolutely.
And it's still there from 81 to now. You'll still see his signature all over it. So I don't know. I can't say. I literally just now realized that was Raimi that did The Gift, and I used to love that movie so much. So
that's awesome, dude. It's always nice learning those surprises, right? Those nice little surprises. You're like, oh my gosh, like that's insane.
Yeah.
But also, if you guys haven't seen it yet, we had I don't know if you guys have watched it, but on Pastrami Nation, we had the opportunity to interview Sam's brother, Ted, on one of our episodes 2 years ago, maybe. Might have been a little bit longer than that, a little bit shorter. I can't remember, but you can check it out on YouTube. Anyone watching, listening, check it out on YouTube. You can check it out on audio. It was a really fun interview. We got to talk to him about a short film he had just done with the director of the short film was there as well. So that was, it was a lot of fun. And we got to geek out a little bit about some Hercules stuff because he was in Hercules and like all these other things. So he was really, really cool. So go check that out, guys, if you guys haven't already. I think that's it, man. You're about to go watch Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and I'm super jealous. I think Nolan and Jason are probably watching it right now as we speak.
Yeah.
And they're either being very, very, loving it or hating it. Who knows? We'll find out when we talk about it, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about it next week. So I think that will be a lot of fun. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. I believe the audio will be up at some point as well. Christian, that was a lot of fun.
Kevin, thank you. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And remember to you guys can check out Pastrami Nation on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok,
Yes.
all kinds of stuff, guys. Like we're like growing and expanding, and it's great and it's fantastic. So, and thank you everyone for supporting us and listening to us. Stay tuned for more awesome podcasts. We have the Pastrami Nation podcast and also the Brick Therapy podcast, which we're going to be planning another episode for. So it's a podcast where we talk about Lego. So if you guys haven't checked those out yet, those are on YouTube and all of our social media. So those are a lot of fun. So and there's a lot of cool Lego stuff I really want to talk about. So, but we'll keep it for Brick Therapy. All right, you guys, have a great night. Be safe.
Till the next time.
Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and have a fantastic weekend. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.